Hi, this is a private video, but um I know I'm sick right now. It's not really visible with how I look, but I'd like to dedicate this video to my baby and an explanation, a deep-rooted explanation on why I think my character Antares and his character Asmazel are a great ship together, and why my autism decided it's good to pick up their pair as a hyperfixation um as of late. So to start off, let me talk to you, break it down to you their dynamic in general. Now I don't own Asmazel, and there's only like a few literatures about him from Mr. Oz himself, aka Agoshi. So I don't have any information about him that's like really um, going deep into his character, other than the fact that his personality is like out there, and like details of his stories and drafts about his lore, both canonically and in alternate universes, are like out there. I just don't have the time to read it. Oh my god. And sorry. So like, going back on topic, the only thing that I know about him is his personality and the drafts of his story from the original and the alternative universe. Meanwhile, my character Antares, I've only ever break him down and build him back up so many times now that I've genuinely forgotten like every other relevant information that I should have been um talking about. So yeah. But anyways, here's why I think they are a good pair together as a Fudanshi. Is that the right word? Fujoshi, Fudanshi, Yume, whatever. Number one, and this is very important, they are toxic. So, one of the things that are very popular in media um, is that they tend to like ships, fandom ships. And you know what else is good for shipping? Rare pairs. And I'm gonna tell you why. In my opinion, rare pairs are really, really good because it's these people that are like completely irrelevant to each other's lives but only share like one similar um one similar characteristics of themselves, and yet people out there, fans of this fandom, ship them together for absolutely no reason, or there is a justified reason, but it's so niche because those characters are either characters that have never interacted each other or have occasionally interacted with each other, that they use as like leverage for like, oh my god, this is how they will establish their relationship in the future. And Antares and Azazel, or as I call it, Antazel, is one of those ships, and let me tell you why. Now, canonically, I don't have any knowledge for the original Legina lore, so I wouldn't really know much even if I wanted to, because the creator for Legina, Lofen, has not really like told us enough about it, or rather she's too busy to like tell me specifically because I'm the only one who hasn't been active in the server a lot. But what I do know is that Antares is adopted into the family by Lofen. By adopted, I mean like he signed a contract to be part of the family via blood, and technically is kind of related, but also not, because he isn't biologically from the family, and he isn't really treated as a family member there. He's more of like a slave slash attendant, which now that I'm talking about it, it kind of sounds fucked up, but hear me out. Now, Azazel is part of the um, Legina. I think it was a second generation, third generation. Oh no, I'm the third generation, so he's second. And when we're talking like I'm the character, wow. So knowing that, obviously there's gonna be a big power dynamic, which is why it's a good ship, because when you pair someone of authority who uses their authority for something good and doesn't necessarily use their power a lot to like leverage people. Oh my god, sorry. They don't really use it, but more of like their skills and talents, and they rope in these people who are like genuinely interested in like their business, their life, their interests and stuff. There's like a very cute dynamic between the two, because it's like, oh my god, I know because there's one that's like, I know that I am in a higher position. I know that I have this power. I know that I have these skills and talents, and I can pull anyone around me, except for you, who was probably forced into this or coerced, or probably even like put here against your will because of like unknown reasons. So spoiler alert for Antares' lore. He died because of errors in his chemicals that eventually infused with his bloodstream, and he fucking dies. And eventually he managed to like establish this relationship, friendship, connection with the head of the family, Lofen. So he managed to like get in contract and started like this blood bond with her, and that causes like a little power dynamic, which is probably why I don't like ship them, because even if they're like not canonically related, and she treats her as basically a slave in the family, uh, she's still like a mother figure to her, and I find it kind of unsettling that that's a thing. However, Antares with Asmo is a completely different story, because not only are do they treat each other as friends more rather than like a familiar figure. By familial as in like mother father treatment, I have to protect this person and shit. They more of treat each other as like best friends slash enemies, borderline those. And I think that's beautiful, because not only does it like pull back down from the whole power dynamic, power imbalance shit, but it also makes them as equals in a way that they can measure up to each other's levels. And this is number two, by the way. This is number two. Number dos. The way that they treat each other as friends and enemies. Ataris is basically someone who's like, uh, as for the reboot, because I'm still working on his character, he's like kind of like insane, kind of crazy, loco, but it's not like it's intentional. Him being crazy is more of like a cover up for um his inner world, because inside of him he's like very vulnerable. He's very hyper vigilant. He's very smart, but because he's like he's born into these circumstances, obviously he has to act a certain way so that people don't establish this weird parasocial bond with him as someone who's like a notorious criminal, first of all, And not so good with when it comes to relationships, but when it comes to Asmo, someone who's quite literally the opposite of him, it is a perfect mesh gray area bond, and I think that's wonderful because Asmo, on the other hand, um, knows that he has the power to like seduce and attract the people around him. He knows that he could just like manipulate these people for like temporarily or even permanently to satisfy his own um his gain, but also for their gain because he's kind of a people pleaser too apparently. um he creates this weird, somewhat parasocial bond with the people that he ropes into his life, because it's like you create these different personas for these different people so that they like you, but also you kind of like are in search of a real connection with others, and you have this freedom to express yourself in that way, that you have to put genuinity just so you could actually get like even just crumbs of real affection for others. And because Antares is like kind of like the opposite of him, I they have this weird hate love for each other, wherein like they hate each other because they represent each other's inner turmoil, and they also love each other because they're the way that they're attaching to one another, where one of them is like kind of like playing onto the other, egging them on, and kind of like leading him on, while the other one is like pushing them away, but is curious enough that they will at least uh touch you a little bit, testing the waters. Ah, it's so perfect. Number tres. This ship has been existing longer than my relationship with the creator, because as Antares' creator, obviously, it didn't started off as me having a crush on him, although that was like part that was like on its own as well. It kind of developed, but also because I already liked him like before, but not like him. Anyways, my relationship with the creator of Azazel has been going on for so long that I've created like personas, slash OCs, to interact with his OCs, because our whole gig is about role playing. So the whole business, the whole shebang, and I I like that over time, when we were like role playing and then we started getting real with each other, so did like the ship, which then became a thing because I brought up the idea that, hey, why not we ship our characters together, because we're together, and wouldn't it be so cool if they were enemies to lovers? Then I said yes, but what if it's not enemies to lovers, but enemies to a very weird gray situationship? And I'm just like, oh my god! Ah! Ah! Number cuatro. And I think this is very important. This is gay propaganda. The whole ship is gay propaganda. Okay. As someone who's gender fluid and pansexual, I think I don't really have any preferences for anyone, and I'm not really discriminate for any people of any gender. Whoever the fuck I like, it's like whoever the fuck that I like, as long as they're cool, as long as they're smart, as long as they're kind and they're aware of their things and they know how to be real, that's okay with me, right? You know? But, sometimes I also prefer someone who's like not batshit insane and toxic. But yeah, um, what the fuck was I talking about? But yeah, I'm not really discriminate of like anyone. And Azazel, the character, is kind of like me. You know, he's also gender fluid, probably like species wise rather than like sexuality wise, because he can literally change genders, like change forms, so that he can appease whoever he's like trying to trick. But yeah, he could quite literally change genders, but I'm pretty sure he could also feel it spiritually, so that's why he's gender fluid, but also pansexual. Because, you know, he's not really discriminate. Or maybe he's bi, I forgot. Maybe he does have preferences, but yeah, wait. Now, meanwhile, Antares, although he doesn't explore his sexuality much, um, we all know that he isn't entirely comfortable with being feminine. In the original story, he's by gender. However, the new lore is that he doesn't really tackle about gender much, but because he grew up in like a city that's like widely um right wing and Republican in their lore, not like Republican in our lore. Because he grew up in like those kinds of cities, and like he was basically trafficked at a young age to work at like drugs and shit. He's kind of like woke, but also not woke. That he would acknowledge if someone's gay or not, but he would question it because he's curious, but also somewhat discriminant, but doesn't care enough to support it. You know, you get what I mean? Like, you would come out to him if you were his friend. You would come out to him as gay. He would be just like, okay, why? And obviously, you have to ask him like, oh my god, you know, I've been experiencing these, and I have like preferences with men and then women, and he's just kind of just like looking at you like, okay, why do you need to tell me about this? You know, I don't fucking care. But also, you're kind of weird because you're like hitting on me. He's kind of like that. He's kind of homophobic, but also somewhat supportive, but also discriminant, especially with trans people. That even if his major is science and he gets like, you know, people change and biology changes and stuff. Not his words, not mine. Um, Obviously there's going to be a conflict with how he views people. Now, when you put those two together, someone who's really open with his gender and his sexuality versus someone who's kind of like in the latter, but mostly against it. Ah, good shit, good shit. And lastly, and I think before I wrap up this video, lastly, on why I ship the both of them is that they measure each other. I mentioned earlier that because of their dynamic together as like enemies to situationship ish, they have this weird level of like seeing each other like in the middle ground, like trying to compete ish. The way I can imagine that in the canon lore, they or maybe like a sub lore, they like try to make advances to one another where it's like, sorry, I burped. Oh my god. They make advances to one another where it's like uh Ataris' whole thing is about intelligence. He prioritizes knowledge and he pursues knowledge like there's no tomorrow, and he takes advantage of his knowledge to either educate others or turn it against them, so that uh, he just sees revenge and uses his knowledge to like harm people. And that, to Asmo, for someone whose entire thing is about charisma and um, dexterity Why am I talking like D&D? What the fuck? For someone's for someone who's like really like into people who are smart, who are true, who are real to themselves, that would attract someone like Asmo, who has to hide himself in layers of masks in order to like express himself in a certain way that attracts people, because again, he's a people pleaser. Maybe I am mischaracterizing him. I'm sorry. I'm not paying attention. But yeah, because he's attracted to those people. He's kind of like, wow, this guy is so interesting. And for Antares, he kind of likes these people who are unapologetic to be themselves and unapologetic to like insert themselves in others where he can't. So when he interacts with Asmo, it's kind of like, I fucking hate you, but I also admire you because you are who you are. And it's what they say, be who you are, for your pride don't hide. Anyways, that's my analysis. In conclusion, they are gay because they fight. They are gay because they admire each other. They are gay because uh, liberals versus homophobes are hot. They are gay because we are gay. And cinco, they are gay because I said so. That's my conclusion. That's my summary for why I ship Antares and Asmazel. Thank you.